Hello again, Tabletop Warriors, and welcome back to the Plague Den. I see questions all the time on Reddit and Facebook. Hey, should I be using Poxwalkers in my Death Guard army? The answer is definitely yes. I'm going to answer that right now. I'm also going to give you 5 tactics and tips on how they should be working and what you should be doing with them to make them effective. This is my continuing video series where we explore the 40K universe one model at a time. And as I mentioned before, today's model, Poxwalkers. If you're new to this channel, welcome, and please consider subscribing for more videos just like this. And let's get right to it. All right, here we go with the first tip. So the first tip is they're only 6 points a model. So for 10, it's 60 points. Obviously for 20, it's 120 points. You go from 3 power level at 10 to 6 power level at 20. They are a troop choice, and you need to be taking more than 10 in your unit. Even if you're only taking 15, I would take the whole 20, but you need to be taking more than 10 because you get the +1 to hit. Their weapon skill 5, you need that +1 to hit to be effective. So that's really one of the biggest tactics, is to make sure that you're taking them in bigger blocks. Even if you're just going to take the 1 unit of Poxwalkers, make sure that it's more than 10, because really you're going to lose 1 or 2. So if you're only taking 10, you're going to lose 1 or 2 to shooting before you even get them into combat. And then it's like that +1 never even happened. So make sure you're taking at least enough to absorb a round of losing a couple of guys before you get them into the fight phase, so you get that +1 to hit. It's a big bonus for them because they are already 5+ weapon skill. Okay, so tactic number 2 is going to really just include the psychic phase. Going over some of these psychic powers that are good for the Poxwalkers. Obviously the number 1 is putrescent vitality. It gives them the +1 to strength and +1 to toughness. So they go from 3 up to 4 strength and 4 toughness, which is huge for a 6-point model. If you're taking more than 10, you're getting the +1 to hit. Now they're +1 strength, +1 toughness. Another good one is the Miasma Pestilence. You can cast it on the unit. It gives your enemies, they must subtract -1 from the hit rolls. And remember that works in shooting and in the fight phase. So if you're in combat with another unit, they're also getting that -1 to hit. Blades of Putrefaction is good as well. It gives you the +1 wound roll, but you lose out on the fact that their weapons aren't plague weapons, so you're not getting that mortal wound for the plague weapons, but you still do get the +1. So if you can get all 3 off, you got a strength 4, toughness 4, +1 to hit, +1 to wound, kind of mob with 2 attacks, and you're getting those for 6 points a model. And I know it gets a little more expensive because you got to add in the psychic powers and you got to add in characters or whatever to cast those psychic powers, but those are some pretty big bonuses for a unit that really only costs you 120 points for 20 of them. Okay, number 3. Number 3 is the Dead Walk Again stratagem. Use this stratagem in the beginning of your movement phase. Select a unit of Poxwalkers until the start of your next movement phase. Replace that unit's Curse of the Walking Pox ability with the following. Each time an infantry model other than a Poxwalker, friend or foe, is slain within 7 inches of this unit, add 1 model to the unit. So if you take Poxwalkers and you take cultists, every time one of the cultists dies or every time one of the enemy dies, you get another Poxwalker. Also, I know that there was a army that was played in one of the tournaments, I think it was LVO, where they kind of did a demon horror shenanigans, because you know the demon horror split. So every time one dies, you get a Poxwalker. Every time it splits, you get more horrors. Every time those dies, you get Poxwalkers. So just keep that in mind, that stratagem is really good to just kind of multiply your Poxwalkers, and it's only a 1 command point stratagem. I like these stratagems because they kind of play like Magic the Gathering in a way that you can kind of interchange them and do different things with your army. It's not always the same, so you can mix and match these stratagems with your different units and see how they work. And this guy really made it effective, and he called it some kind of a bloom, where he just kept getting Poxwalkers. So keep that in mind. The Dead Walk Again as a stratagem, as a tactic for your Poxwalkers, especially if you're taking cultists. So number 4 is they're one of the last units really that is truly fearless. So they can't be scared out, you can put them on an objective. If they get attacked or get shot at, they're not going to run away because of morale tests. You don't have to take morale tests, so you can use them to hold objectives. You can use them to screen your more expensive units. You can use them as bubble wraps around some of your vehicles if that's what you choose to do. And then getting them into the fight phase, even if you lose combat, it's okay, because they just tar pit and they're not going to run away because they are truly fearless. So take that into consideration when you're building out your army list, is what can you use them for, where that, hey, I don't have to take a morale test rule is going to come into play. So number 5 is going to be the man himself, Typhus, your HQ that you should always be using if you're using big groups of Poxwalkers. He does give them the +1 strength, +1 toughness if they're within 7 inches of him. He's a beast in combat. He's got a 4+ invul. He can cast some of those psychic powers that we talked about before, so he can actually put them up to the strength 5, toughness 5. If you're taking Poxwalkers, you need to be taking Typhus with them. The buff that he provides them is awesome. Also, you can think about putting a Chaos Lord with him, or a Demon Prince, to give him that rerolls on the hit, so you get the +1 to hit plus the rerolls. But Typhus is a definite inclusion as your HQ, one of your HQ choices if you're taking Poxwalkers. The buff he gives them is really good. So there's 5 tactics that you can use with your Poxwalkers to make them better in your army. Yes, you should be using them. If you run Death Guard, they're a great cheap troop choice that you can do a lot with, and a lot of things in the Death Guard Codex are kind of designed to go along with Codex, starting with Typhus and the psychic powers and the stratagem and all that stuff. So keep in mind, when you're looking at all these tactics, put them into play when you're building your army, so you can figure out how you want to actually use them when you get your army on the battlefield. The pictures I used today were from KP Miniatures, one of the artists on the internet. I asked him if I could use his pictures, so I'm linking his Instagram down in the comments below if you're interested in seeing more of those pictures. Please comment and tell me how you're using your Poxwalkers, and subscribe for more videos from the Plague Den. And until next time, this is Tony saying, to win all your battles in life and on the tabletop.